Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. My name is Chris Weiser. We just lost David. Jeremy, we just lost our special guest here. But anyway, my name is Chris Weiser, founder and CEO of Seven Figure MSP. Also, I run the IT and MSP Business Owners Group. We're simulcasting in that group right now. Woo! Super excited about this webinar. This is one of our hot topics that we want to go through. We got David back. There we go. This is one of our super hot topics that we want to talk about with one of our amazing vendor partners. Got Jeremy and David here from Highwire Networks. You guys are an amazing, amazing vendor. Been super happy to have a great relationship with you guys. Can you just give us a quick little background of what Highwire Networks is, your Overwatch product, just so we can, everybody that's here can hear about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about managed cybersecurity today, managed security operations center, all this other stuff. So I don't care which one of you goes. I think it's going to be David giving us a little walkthrough of what Highwire is.
Sure. Happy to do it. Chris, happy to be here.
Good to see you, brother.
You know, we've been working together for a while, and it's always a pleasure to get on a webinar and just talk about what we do and how we partner and those kind of things. So happy to be here. Excited to talk to your constituents, if you will. Highwire Networks, we are a channel-only managed security services provider. And that's the Overwatch piece specifically. We have a couple of other legs of business that we also focus on around commercial power and electric, technical services, tech support kind of roles. But where Jeremy and I spend a very large portion of our time is around managed security services. Primarily, go ahead. You look like you're about to ask.
No, it's good. I just wasn't sure if you're done. Keep going.
Primarily we focus around managed SOC, managed 7x24 SOC services. And then we have some other services that we have available for our partners as well. So that's kind of a nutshell. Jeremy, did I miss anything?
No, it sounds good. Great to be here.
I wasn't expecting you. I love that. This is the beauty of live broadcast, folks.
That's right.
Like, oh shoot! I'm like, I gotta talk. I gotta unmute quick. So that's awesome. Yeah. So let me just kind of bring into some of this a couple questions. And for those of you that are watching, I don't know if you guys realize, but I was an MSP owner for 10 plus years. But we didn't have all these. First of all, we didn't have the cybersecurity threats that we have now. That was a big factor. I sold back in 2015. We also didn't have the amazing vendor partners that we have right now, similar to you guys. And one of the things that I've seen in the last 3 to 4, let's just say 6 years since I sold my company, now it's coming up on that. When we were kind of in this place where we didn't have the ability to outsource like we do now.
Right.
And so there was all of this hesitation, and there's been all this hesitation as time has gone to actually outsourcing levels of services like a security operations center. And I think there's still, we're going to have hundreds of people that are watching this webcast. I think many of you that are watching have this hesitation, like, oh, I can't outsource. I'd rather insource this, et cetera. I'd rather build my own. And David's a CTO there. So you're like on the technical side. What is the reason? And so what I'm trying, it's hard for me to convey this because it's hard to say, but I think a lot of MSPs traditionally are used to building these things on their own.
Right.
But this is hard. This is not an easy thing to build, nor should it be. Honestly, in my opinion, an MSP should not be building this on their own because they're barking up a tree that's a big, it's like a redwood. Like it's a biggest tree ever.
Yeah.
So from your standpoint, where does this sit? Why should an MSP not, like what things do they have to worry about insourcing this, building it their own, and why should they look at outsourcing to someone like Highwire?
Yeah, great question. And at the end of the day, we built Highwire Overwatch to solve really 3 business problems. And this is the reason why most MSPs won't build their own managed SOC, right? Number one is it's expensive. To build a facility where you have 7x24 people and all the facilities and all the software and the hardware and the processes, it is a very large task, right? And so we built it to help solve that problem because the mid-market SMB customers, they can't staff it, so cost is one. 2 is there aren't enough security practitioners. So if you were to go and look worldwide today, I heard a stat the other day that there are 1.5 million vacant cybersecurity jobs across the globe,
Wow.
right? So finding the talent and getting them plugged into an organization or to an environment where they want to work 7 by 24 is daunting as well. Unless you've got a pipeline of talent that you've established at the university levels or the technical college levels, it's tough to find people, right? And make sure that they're able to step in and manage your end customer's environment. It's difficult on a good day. And then the third is there's so many point solutions. How do you know what tools to sell, what stack to sell, right? So what we built Highwire Overwatch to do is to help solve those three problems, because at the end of the day, if I can get the right tool sets and I have a set of people who are consistently delivering the service in an environment that is built for that purpose, we win, right? And that's the long story short.
Yeah, and I think that's really well said. And one of the things that I want you guys that are watching this to really think about. I understand, especially I built a lot of my own stuff. We had our own help desk, we had our own on the ground team, but this is a different level of stuff. When I started looking at things like building a cloud infrastructure, I was not equipped for it. It's the same thing with this. Like, we're looking at this type of environment, this type of level of threats. And David, you are spot on. The stack, it's changing literally daily.
Daily. It
so
is.
You better be in the trenches, understanding all of it. Also, the biggest thing, which every MSP talks about, Jeremy, you know this, they talk about this in our big Facebook group all the time. My inner circle clients talk about this from our coaching program. We are struggling with staff. We're struggling with hiring. We're struggling with finding good talent. This is the biggest battle. And just imagine the amount of threats and issues that you're potentially running against. It's like, I don't understand why you'd even go down that path other than this is what we've always done. Like, that's an answer I hear all the time. I've always built my own stuff. This is where I'm going to go. So from your standpoint, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
I was saying there's a cool factor. Hey, we have this great SOC. Come check it out. And I get that. I've been a builder my whole life, and I would almost prefer to build stuff myself. But when you think about the scale and the cost, when you talk about, and let's just talk people for a second, 7 by 24 at a minimum, you need 11 people, right? Yeah. Just people. And if you're lucky, you're getting each one at $50K at a minimum. So that's $550,000 just in labor, and that's not counting facilities.
There's nobody that's going to work in this industry at $50K. Sorry.
No. Well, your tier ones you might get right out of college, but your tier ones aren't smart enough to handle those advanced threats.
They're robots.
Right?
Exactly.
So they're good at 80% of the triage, and that 20% you need tier 2 folks that are 80 grand, and you need tier 3 folks that are 100 grand. So just the labor piece, Chris, is monumental. And if you're a mid-market SMB, MSSP, I know that's a lot of letters together. It's tough. It's a tough road to go.
Yeah. So those of you guys that are watching with us right now, if you have questions, David is the CTO at Highwire Networks. We literally have the top technical mind there. That's huge. And then we got some other random dude named Jeremy with us. Hey, buddy. Jeremy runs the MSP division, so I like to give him a hard time. He was giving David and I a hard time about our haircuts earlier, so pay back while you're on mute, buddy. So if you guys have questions for David or Jeremy, please ask. I want to go down a couple different paths here. So David, we just talked a little bit about the people and the outsourcing. What's like your top 3 reasons why an MSP should outsource this? Besides, I understand we just talked about a couple of things here, but they're going to still have this stuff in their head and doubts that they have.
Sure.
What's your thoughts about that? Because there's and I hear this literally every day. We're just going to build it ourselves. And there's this whole avenue of picking this up and putting it on you guys, I think is just, and you're fully managed, I believe, correct? A fully managed stock.
David just, that's funny, Mark. That's our boss.
Yeah, that's Mark Porter just commented. In fact,
yes.
Put that on the screen really quick. He just commented, "Hey, David just slashed the team's pay."
Right.
So,
I think
a little deeper.
So, I'll come back to the business drivers, and I'm going to harp on these again. if you think about the stat, Chris, you've got, I went to RSA last year before they shut it off for COVID. And if you've ever been to the show, it's the world's largest cybersecurity conference in the world.
Yeah.
And there were 1,500 booths set among 2 warehouse floors that you walk around and you look at products. And the problem is most of those don't talk to each other. And so one of the challenges that most companies face is, what is the right product? And then once we find the right products, do they talk to each other? Can you coordinate and correlate data streams to find the needles? Because at the end of the day, we've created this data lake where we've got terabytes and terabytes of data. You've got to find the needle, right? Because the needle is what's going to cause our end customers to have issues. Without the right tool sets talking to each other and correlating that data, it's impossible. And so that's one of the reasons I would tell people.
We're going to come back and talk about that in a minute here.
Yeah, don't go chase
I got some stuff
the data problem by yourself. It's too big, right? That's number one. 2 is we've built our offering in such a manner is we partner with our partners, take our product sets and they put them in front of their end customers, and they have us standing behind it, right? It's not, hey, I'm Joe's MSSP and I just created this SOC service. Can you be my first customer, right? We've done this. We continue to do this. We continue to grow our partner set. So we've got the expertise. We have 2 former, myself and our CISO, we've all been CISOs at Fortune 100 companies. Yeah. So we've been there, we've done that, and we're driving excellence and efficiencies into the technologies that we're building and selecting for our customers, right? So you asked for 3, that's 2. I'll have to think about a third one.
Well, so let's come back to that first point, because I think one of the things that the MSP don't realize, namely because they've all, and this is it's almost like a success trap for you guys that are MSPs sitting out there, because if we go all the way back to when MSP land started, 2095, whenever it is, coming to now, you guys have always been able to kind of like build it on, I can build it myself. I can build it on my own, and I can have a pretty decent scenario, and I can make it moderately successful or really successful. We're in a different time now. And David's not joking. Like I see this in a different animal now than I did when I was in the MSP chair, because I'm seeing 300 to 400 to 500 MSPs on a regular basis and seeing their struggles and seeing all these different things. And the biggest issue is the tools are changing constantly. The stack is changing constantly. The community, you said something that's really key right there, is that the stuff has to all talk to each other also, or you're going to have so much lost cash in just babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys deal with that problem? Because that's a huge issue. Obviously, you're focused on it, and it's a really big deal, but it's a major factor for these guys that are thinking they can build it on their own.
Well, I think part of it comes back to tool and instrumentation, and the other part comes with expertise and process, right? The expertise and process is stuff that we've done over the years that we're putting into the tools and technologies that we've picked to help sift through the noise. You know, at the end of the day, Chris, I was a couple years ago, and this was 3 years ago, I was down in Mexico City talking to the CISO from DirecTV down in South America, and they're getting 300 million events a day.
Jeez.
Right? And how do you staff to handle those events? I asked him that. So what do you do? And he says, you know, we pray a lot because it's impossible without advanced analytics to get ahead of that data. It's impossible. So one of the things we focus on here is getting the right tools that give us better analytics, better machine learning, better AI, because again, our job is to correlate the endpoint with the firewall, with the proxy, with the server logs to find those needles so that our customers don't find them, or so they don't impact our customers.
Yeah. So you just mentioned a couple things. Looking at some of the back end side, you mentioned the AI and the machine learning. Overwatch has this built in. Can you give us a little, maybe give us an Overwatch of Overwatch really
right.
quick? Like give us a 1,000-foot view of what Overwatch is, how it helps the MSP, and what that really looks like for their service delivery.
You bet. So we take disparate data feeds from lots of tool sets. So there's this idea called XDR, and that those three letters are going to be unique to or foreign to some of you. You may not have heard that idea, but it's the evolution of machine or managed detection and response, endpoint detection and response, and where the industry is going is extended, which is the E or X detection and response. And Chris, what that means is we take all of these data sets together, endpoint, firewall, server, we correlate those and we run those through data enrichment, data normalization, data deduplication, and finally we run them all through machine learning, right? And why that's powerful is I can start to build behavior models that say, Chris Weiser normally logs in from Austin, Texas from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Today, his account on Sunday morning at 2 a.m. is being logged into in Europe, right? You start to build anomalies, or you start to build these behavior models, and now you've got anomalies. You got your outliers. That's where you get ahead of and getting your handle on things like ransomware. Ransomware, everything ransomware does is an outlier. Everything, right? Because it downloads code, it installs code, it runs code, it acts as a user, it sends data someplace, it starts encrypting, it runs processes that it's never run. All of those outliers to us tell us these needles over here we've got to go look at. And that's how we get ahead of, and that's how we get closer to real-time detection of zero-day type of events. And again, without a team that's focused on the output of these machine learning data sets, you're not going to catch it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there's a lot of MSPs that are talking to us regularly about, I don't need a fully managed product, or I'll put in a self-managed product. Is the difference the people? Is it what is it, and what's the major difference? And, and what I'm trying to do is educate the guys on the other side, because there's a lot of what I've just seen over time is there's a lot of people that have grown up in server land, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, guys.
Sure, right.
I was that guy. We grew up in
Me
server
too. Yep.
We evolved together. But my focus as an MSP owner wasn't necessarily security. It was making sure our clients are happy and making sure we have good service. And now we have this whole other thing with security that's kind of crept up on us. And many MSPs are just starting to implement EDR.
Right.
And you're talking about XDR now. So it's a totally different thing that's happening. So what's the difference really on the MSP side of I need, or I should put in a fully managed SOC, or I'm okay with a self-managed SOC and a SIM and et cetera? What's the difference, and how can they determine what should be a good fit for them?
So,
and I understand that we have time, so don't feel like you have to be brief. I want to try and educate, and that's what.
I'm with you. Outside of the business drivers or the challenges we've talked about, staffing is still, I'm still going to say, Chris, is probably number one, right? You got to allow for vacations and time off and sick days and all that other stuff, and that impacts your people. You got to have the right set of people. They have to be trained. To your point earlier, you mentioned that your partners are telling you that they keep losing talent, so now you've got to go hire more people, train them, educate them. If you hire them, if you find them and they're already trained, you're going to pay a premium.
Yeah.
So now you start to deal with margin issues. What a managed service provider like us do is we give you a set cost per user or per IP that you can then add margin to, and you don't have to think about how many people do I need to support customer A and customer B and customer C, because we're doing all that on the backside, right? And so again, back to the technology stack, we help with that. And frankly, we don't care what stack they bring to the table, because we have this extended detection response. We're going to pull it in, right? So if they're a Webroot or a Sentinel-1, CrowdStrike, we don't care. we're going to bring that data in. If they're a Palo Alto shop or Fortinet, we don't care. We're going to bring that data in, and we're going to give them that correlated view across. And this is back to even if you're talking about an MSSP that's not us, right? You need a partner that's going to bring the data together, give it to you in a single pane of glass, look for the anomalies, respond in near real time, and ultimately help you deliver better service and ultimately better margins for your company and better services for your end customers.
At least controllable margins too, right?
Absolutely.
And that's probably the biggest factor in this that I see. I'm just kind of picking questions out of my head here that I know that the MSP is struggling with. So that's, I know they're a little bit harder questions and it's a little bit
Oh, they're fine.
Off the cuff kind of, but one thing that, many MSPs are sitting out there, they have, and I'm just going to say the average MSP right now has about 1,200 endpoints is what I think.
Okay.
How many people do you think it would take the average MSP to run and staff their own SOC at 1,200 endpoints?
Well, I've supported like Fortune 50, for example, Fortune 500, anywhere along the mix where they've got. I can tell you about a bank in Tennessee. I live in Nashville that has 1,400 employees, and for them to do a SOC, they had to hire 11 people. Right. So again, you're looking at just up front, Chris. You're looking at $500,000, $750,000 in salaries.
Yeah.
Your SG&A stuff.
So you guys that are watching, I want you to think about this, both live with us on the replay, etc. I want you to think about that. If you're going to put in your own SOC, I don't care if you're using, you're not going to make your own software at this point, but let's say you work with a self-managed product. If you're going to put this in place, you're going to have $500,000 in salaries. And as David just said, 10 to 11 to 15 people. That's just counting the management staff. Am I right on that?
That's correct. That's
not even counting executives, sales.
That's right.
All the rest of this, just for that division to self-manage and do this properly.
That's right.
And the biggest thing that I want to reiterate with that is the word properly. Because the biggest problem I see across the board, and this is kind of where MSPs are in a little bit of this trouble that we've gotten into in this industry in the last 2 to 3 years, is, let's get it done. Okay, does that mean properly, doing it right? Or does that mean let's do it at the minimum? And what happens when things are done at the minimum? Things get missed, issues happen, and then all of a sudden we got hackers using MSPs to exploit.
That's right.
Part of the things that we have to do on our side, it's our job to self-manage and self-police, because if we don't do that, what we're going to see happen in this industry is regulation really quickly, because it's become a problem. What's your thoughts on that, David? That's like Chris' feeling, but
I love the topic because in the MSP space, maybe one of the problems you may try to solve is backups. So you can get by with putting a NAS device and you're going to back up to it and somebody's going to take it home every night. That's good enough, right? And in that case, you're playing an if game. If something happens, I have a backup at home. Yep. In the security space, it's a when game. There is no if. When the bad thing happens, when somebody tries to hack me, is good enough? Is a firewall and an endpoint good enough? Well, I can show you hundreds of hacks that have happened to major companies where the firewall didn't stop it and the endpoint didn't stop it, and the bad guys took all their data. So, at the end of the day, good enough is a tough question. And how much investment do I put in to help solve the problem?
And here's the other factor with this. The problem with that, and I'm on your page with that, the problem with the good enough mindset is we have the end user or the end user decision maker in the end user business then filing an insurance claim.
That's right.
And while that's fine and the end user may be covered, what happens is the MSP end user or the end user files that insurance claim and the insurance company comes back after to get their claim money. And that's the stuff that we're really seeing starting to happen, is the insurance company starting to come back to the MSP and saying, why weren't they on this? Or
Right.
why couldn't you have
That's right.
this? And
Well,
then the MSP's like, well, they didn't want to pay for it. Okay, that's fine. But did you actually present it to them and show them
That's
what
right.
they should have? Right? That's
Well, even worse, Chris, is we have insurance companies denying claims because
Spot on.
due diligence, due care didn't happen. Right. We've been
gross
doing.
negligence claims, right? That stuff's
That's right.
happening.
It's happening today. I could pull cases up and show you. And so having an organization that can help manage risk, because at the end of the day, you're not transferring risk to someone else. What you're doing is sharing that risk with someone who's equipped to do the job, has the tools in place, has the talent to manage those tool sets, and the responsibility to respond for you at 2 a.m.
Yeah. And it's under SLA. You can say,
Absolutely.
and here's the big factor, guys, and I want you all to, and one of the reasons I'm adamant about this, my staff and my clients knows that I have a bug up my butt for this stuff because I see so many MSPs say, we'll deal with it when it happens. And I'm telling you guys that the time of that excuse, or even the, oh, we didn't know better excuse, or we tried, those excuses are gone, because the scenario that we're running into now is that gross negligence scenario, to where the law is starting to come around to, I don't care if you didn't know better, you have a duty.
That's right.
Right? And that's the stuff that's really scary, because it's just a matter of time before somebody gets really hit and somebody goes to prison. Like, not
only that, Chris, I don't know what percent of your customer base out there is mid-market SMB, but a lot of them go out of business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At the end of the day, it's not a function of if, it's when. And if you're not prepared for when, then there's a good chance that your company may not be in existence in a year, 2 years, whatever.
Yeah, and I think, the thing, and to answer kind of your question that you just had there about the mid-market, most MSPs are not mid-market, and we know that. They're 200 employees and smaller for the most part. So you have to and many of your clients, folks that are watching this, are relying on you. Whether you think you're in cybersecurity or not, if you have the term IT in your job description, which everyone here does, you are their cybersecurity provider. I say this a lot. We do monthly strategy calls that are basically training webinars on how to sell properly, how to sell cybersecurity risk assessments and these other things. And one of the challenges that I put out in front of my prospects and people, guests on those webinars, if you don't think and understand, 50% of MSPs are saying, okay, MSP comes to here, MSSP goes over here, and that's not my jam. That is wrong. This is all your baby now. And if you
it's your relationship. That's right.
And if you do not believe me, pick up the phone, call your client decision maker and say, hey, you guys are going to get ransomware tomorrow. I have proof it's going to happen. What do you want to do? You know what they're going to say?
Fix it.
You tell me, right? Fix it. Fix the problem. It's your job. Oh, we don't do cybersecurity. That's not an excuse anymore. So you have to have relationships with companies like Highwire, using Overwatch to put these pieces in place, or you got to staff it yourself. But we just talked about what that is. It's a huge undertaking.
Right.
So I don't know. I got a question here from Mark. This is actually a question from your team. I don't know if you can see that on the screen there. It's a little bit more techie, but I think it's a good question. How do you account for the different needs of different classes of client, if not for an open XDR? Understanding, David, most MSPs on this call, I'm going to say 90% don't know what XDR is. So we got to explain that a little bit again. I know you did already, but let's get deeper into that.
And I would say probably more than 90 is a fair number. Again, XDR, and we can give you some links to it. I've done a couple of conversations of the evolution from EDR, endpoint detection and response, to managed detection and response, and finally to extended detection and response. And I think Mark's point there was more rhetorical than it was a question. If you don't have a tool that is XDR, how can you account for your different types of business or customers, different classes of clients? So, for example, you may have a healthcare, you may be in the healthcare vertical, but you're going to go into 10 different hospitals that have, or clinics that have 10 different HRS systems and 10 different firewalls. And if you don't have an open type of platform to account for those different types of clients, you really can't deliver an MSSP service. You just can't do it.
And I know that there's guys sitting on the other side of that screen right now saying, yeah, but we're not an MSSP. I promise you the law thinks you do. Your clients think you do.
Right.
The insurance companies they all believe at this point you are a managed security company, whether you want that or not. I say this all the time, and every single week I have somebody come back to me and say, oh, we're not a managed security company. Yes, you are.
Right.
Whether you think you are or not, you are.
That's right.
It's a huge, huge factor. Okay, got a couple other things here. Jamie, I think you came off mute. Did you have anything that you wanted to say?
No, we mentioned, you saw my chat in there. Cybersecurity is a business problem, not a technology one. And also wanted to mention the co-managed space when you start thinking about the MSSP route. A lot of our partners that I've been working with have been able to go into that mid-market and above spaces to sell cybersecurity type services directly to them. And it's a great way to immediately increase your MRR without taking on a lot of extra work, and it allows you to go on that trusted advisory path.
Yeah, and I think, this actually brings up a really good point. I'm glad you mentioned that because, you guys think about this that are watching right now. For history, all of our history that we've dealt with in the past, we've been going into clients exclusively with the mindset of we're going to run their IT, which for any of your clients that are like 200 and seats below, I totally agree. Run their IT, be their entire scenario. But now we're in a place where we can go into your mid-market, 200 seats and above. I'd say 200 to 1,000 seats. Is that mid-market? Is that what you consider that, Jeremy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even 100, like I know the SMB rate is like 0 to 250 for small, medium business. But to your point, most MSPs, they don't get in environments that are more than 75 or 100 users.
Yeah. So you have the ability to go into some of these clients now that are not equipped to handle this because they had to build it themselves. And we are finally in this space. For years, we weren't able to do this because they could just go to big providers and get this. They can't do it now. There's nobody that's doing this. You guys can sell this as a point solution directly into these bigger companies, leading with managed cybersecurity operations center, leading with XD, like leading with all these high-end things directly to IT directors and sell them a point solution. Any thoughts on that, John?
Yep. And we are not channel friendly. We are channel only. So we help out in a lot of ways when our partners are presenting to them, whether it's doing code demos or whatever's needed with our U+us approach.
I think
I was going to echo that. Channel enablement, partner enablement is key to what we do. It's the whole teach a man to fish idea. Yeah. So we teach our partners how to pitch and understand XDR, understand the security, the business problems, not the technology problems, and we do it with them. Right. I can't tell you how many demos I've done in the last year with our partners.
Right. Yep. Okay. So really quick, while you guys are watching with us, we're going to keep going on this. If you have questions for either David or Jeremy live with me today, or me for that matter, put it in the Facebook comments underneath whatever video you're on. We can see all of them. Just want to give you a chance really quick. You can go to this link on the bottom of the screen here, sevenfiguремsp.link/highwire. That's going to bring up this page for you guys. It's an actual how to get started page. This is Jeremy, can you just talk about what this is really quick? It's just a demo or just a demo link, right? To book a assessment.
To book a discovery call and do a demo of Overwatch 24/7. If you are an elite member, make sure you let us know when we're going through that process because there are special discounts for you guys.
Okay. And just what he means by an elite member is my coaching program. Our main group is our 7-figure inner circle elite. So if you guys are elite members, please bring that up to Jeremy or whoever your rep is that you end up talking with, because you guys have a special pricing program with Highwire and their Overwatch product. I just wanted to bring that up and show that to you guys really quick. Next thing that I have, and actually I'm going to bring this. This is a comment. This is from Amy. I saw this on Facebook. She didn't authenticate with StreamYard on the backside, but this is a pretty cool little testimonial for you guys directly from a live partner. That's from Amy Morell. She's with Ethos in North Carolina, but I just wanted to bring that up. Jeremy, they're not too far from you, I believe. So I just want to bring that up so you guys can see that. It's from Amy Morrell. So it's Amy, how you doing? They're one of our clients as well. So I want to talk a little bit more, so a little bit deeper on the, and David, this is coming back to you a little bit here on the managed side versus unmanaged. I just got a text message from someone here on the back end that said they believe that they can still understaff. This is crazy. I'm not going to say who this was, but they said they can understaff and still deliver a great service because of the automation in many of the softwares. What's your thoughts on that?
Depending on the size and scale, there may be some truth to that. I'm not going to tell you that somebody's wrong. I'm just going to tell you what history has taught us. I've stood up SOCs in multiple companies.
Yeah.
I can tell you that you can automate some of it, but at some point there's got to be a human that takes that needle and says, yep, this anomaly that we found is bad, and we're going to take action on its behalf. In a perfect world, if the technology wasn't ever a business problem, Chris, then I could probably get behind that idea a little bit more.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the siloed technology approach, how do you detect something over here on one piece of technology and automate a response on another piece, and they don't talk to each other? And there's no way to do that. You have to have humans in the middle of that piece. And while you could put techs in place and get people out of bed and say we're on the clock 7/24 because I got somebody up at 3:00 who responded. Yeah, that happens.
It's just not a core. It's just not a core focus, though. And
it's not.
I don't know how you can sit there and think. And I'm going to be a little controversial here, guys. This is not iWire's opinion. You're crazy if you think you can do that. This is my opinion saying that. As a guy that built and ran his own MSP, it was hard enough to staff my help desk and my regular on the ground engineers, let alone having high level. And the major factor here, this is high level people. You can't just put worker bees in a room and say push buttons all night. It's got to be, you have to be skilled enough and know what you're looking for. Am I wrong on any of that, David?
No, I don't think you are at all.
And it's just trying to cut corners with this level of stuff just because you can seems like a very foolish proposition to me. I don't know. And it's kind of the world that we're living in, because also, David, you and I have never really sat and talked about this, but the problem this industry has had, and this is why seven-figure MSP exists, is because they've traditionally undercharged. They undercharge because they're not necessarily great salespeople. Now we're going to take it into this, and we're going to undercharge and understaff and just think about what the disaster that potentially brings to the table.
Yeah, I agree. And not only the disaster, it's some liability that's going to come with it.
Yeah. Because we're also running into, and actually here's a question that I have. This whole thing is making me think a lot, because I love to think about this stuff. And one of the reasons that we do a lot of these webinars with me unscripted is because my MSP CEO brain starts to run.
Sure.
And, so MSPs are now struggling to get insured. I'm not sure how much you know about that, but that's a real thing that's happening. Does having a relationship with a company like you, having a signed agreement, having a fully managed security operations center that's staffed, that can be compliant, that can show all these different things, that's got to help on the insurance side. Am I right?
It does. It does for two.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things we haven't talked about is for our partners that we end up signing, we ask them to deploy our services internally. So we have a NFR type of approach. And so now all the services and tools that they use to service their end customers, we're helping to watch for them around the clock. So one of the points you made earlier, Chris, was we've seen MSSPs get compromised and then use that trusted path to compromise their end customers.
Yeah, exactly right.
So we're one of our selling points is we're going to give you our services at an NFR price. You can't get it cheaper anywhere else, right? Because we want you to use it. So when you go sell it, you can say, yeah, we use it internally. They watch our stuff. Here's what our stuff looks like.
folks.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Caviar, right? We prefer the caviar approach. But to your point, right? So now when they get those questions from their insurance companies, they can say, yes, we have a SOC. Yes, they're watching our stuff 7x24. We're using these controls. They're in place. Here's the evidence of it. Premiums drop potentially. Claims definitely drop.
That alone, like I don't even know what to say about that. I wasn't expecting that. That alone is a reason to use this product and to use this system, because if you can put this in internally at an NFR price, have this in your arsenal, and you actually can be and the other thing is you can be fully transparent about, this is the partner we use. Here's their qualifications. They are channel only, not like Jeremy said, not just not channel friendly. They're channel only. So you can go down this path of transparency, and we trust a third-party partner for these reasons. And you can actually say, we partner with experts because we are experts at customer service. So you can actually go back to, here's all the things that we're great at, and we partner with a third-party firm because they're great at that, and they work with us exclusively. Like, think of the power in that marketing message, in that sales message. That's huge, 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 huge. Jeremy, I don't know if you guys are using that, but that's something that you should be from here on out.
We are, and we did go through some of our own compliance regulations earlier this year. We went through our SOC 2 Type 1, and David, I believe we should have our SOC 2 Type 2 by October-ish this year, once we go through the attestation period.
Yes, that's correct.
So it's just, to me, for you guys that are watching this, there's just no reason not to actually give these guys a shot, take a look at it. You know, I have no debate about weighing fully managed versus a self-managed scenario, but just understand all the staffing you have to put in place, understand you have to also put the pricing solutions, all these pieces in place. I don't understand why you go a different route.
Well, and I think the other point to keep in mind, Chris, is it's not just fully outsourced. Right? The way we've built our technology, we co-manage. So we'll deploy into customer A with our partner. They can get in and look at customer A. They can still be, and most times they're still the point person for the relationship. But they've got us on the back end as their experts around security. Mm-hmm. So we prefer to see it as more of a co-managed versus a completely outsourced. But we do have some partners who don't have any security expertise, and in that case, we do all of it for them.
So let's say an end user, we're coming down to just about 10 minutes left here. So first of all, before I get into that, if you guys have an interest in seeing a demo, talking to Jeremy and his team, please take a look at the link on the bottom. It's going to bring up this page here. You can just fill that out, and they'll work with you guys live in real time. But let's say a client, let's talk a little bit about remediation. Client, because we know they're going to happen, period, they're going to happen. What kind of things can you help in terms of an MSP client has remediation or has a breach, has a scenario? How do we remediate? What's the steps in that?
So one of the things we don't do, Chris, is we don't do forensic work. And there's two reasons. One of them is there's some really good people out there who do that, and we partner with them. Right. Number two is our strength is monitoring and responding. So we're going to watch and respond. You don't want us to take away our talent base to go chase some incident. Now, having said that, if one of our end customers had an incident, we partner with whatever forensic firm they might bring in, and we give them data. We answer questions. We're still a part of that event. We're just not owning that event. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I think it's the right answer. It's totally the right answer. It's just a matter of, I know MSPs are sitting out there, and I'll give you a great example of this and where this came to my head. We had one of our elite members call me like 3 weeks ago. He said, my client just got breached. What can you help me with? I don't know what to do.
Right.
And that's a real problem that these guys have.
It's a scary scenario.
It's a really scary scenario because, first of all, there's MSPs out there that believe breaches aren't going to happen. And that's not real anymore, guys. Like that, the breaches, I don't care who it is, they're going to happen. You can't stop them all. You probably can't stop a good chunk of them at this point. But having a plan, and what I liked what David said there specifically, we don't do it because we stay in our lane. Fine, agree with that. But here's a third-party partner. Here's how we do it. Here's a plan. Like, I think that's a huge factor and a major, major key.
And I think the key there, Quish, is mitigation versus remediation. Our first responders are always communicating with the MSP or the end customer's first responders to put the fire out, and we're doing that in an early warning stage, right? We're not waiting for the fire to spread too much. We're mitigating it very early in the warning, in the kill chain, if you would.
Yeah.
We're not rebuilding the house after the fact. We're helping stopping it from spreading initially.
Yeah, and I think what's going to happen with all these things is, you're going to see end users either losing their insurance if they don't have these things in place. I'm not saying it's happening right now. I mean, it's probably starting to happen, but those, especially if they have a singular incident, they're going to have to get certified in some capacity. David, is that right? You see that happening to where they have
I do.
and they're going to have to get certified or verified that they have protection?
They're getting denied on their claims, and so they can't recover. And the other thing that I see happening is, and we see some of it in Europe, some of the largest cyber insurance companies like Lloyd's of London, right? You've heard of them because they insure athletes, but they also insure companies cyber. They're one of the biggest cybersecurity insurance companies out there. And they're starting to require certification that you do A, B, and C as part of your security program, or they won't insure you, right? So you're going to go from a great insurance company to what's the SR22, right? Because you can't get anybody else, and you're going to get what you pay for in that case.
Yeah, it's just, and I know we're coming down to time, guys. The three of us could sit here. Actually, David and I could probably sit here for the next 3 or 4 hours and talk about this stuff. And I just want to reiterate how important.
Not Jeremy though; he's got too much hair.
That's funny. Yeah, and Jeremy, you're never going to live that down. We're going to come after you from now on.
That's right.
It's just a matter of you guys have to do something to protect yourselves, and you have to make a decision. Can I build this on my own, and can I fully staff it? Which means that you're a much larger firm if you're going to do that. And if you're not in that case, you better start planning for this. You better start budgeting for this. You better start having all these things in your wheelhouse, because if you don't, either you're going to get sold away from this by, people are coming in and selling this out from under you.
Right.
Or you're going to, and what I see, David, happening is MSPs are still right now selling antivirus.
Right.
That's what they're putting in is antivirus.
That's right. And
that's all it is at that point. And it's such a dangerous world because it's just a matter of time. And the small, my customer's too small to get attacked mindset, which a lot of MSPs still have this.
I know.
It's not real. All it takes.
There's a dentist office by my house that has 6 chairs. So 2 dentists, 6 chairs, a couple dental hygienists.
Yep.
They got ransomware.
Yep.
They had to shut their office for 3 weeks. They couldn't see patients. So guess what they're not doing? They're not billing.
They're not making any money.
They're not making any money. And there's 6 chairs. Are they too big? Too small? The other point Mark made, and I just want to highlight that at the bottom, our partners can be security in the security business in days versus months, right? And that's a powerful comment.
Yeah. Jeremy, what's average time to go live? Mark talked about that there, but let's say MSP signs up for your demo today or your strategy session today, which is the link we had on the bottom there. What's time to the meeting? What's time to go live?
We can usually have them onboarded as a partner, partnership-wise, within 24 hours if that's the pace they want to go. Getting their NFR onboarded or a new customer, that can be in a matter of a couple of days, if not a week, just depending on if we need to ship any sensors or anything. But a lot of folks are going with virtual sensors, so we can literally get those up in a matter of 48 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we get 9 minutes at the top of the hour. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Any parting words from you, Jeremy? And then I'll have David finish up.
I think the key is when we're thinking about threat hunting and anomalous detection, we can't just do it on the endpoint or on the server. It has to be across the entire environment, whether it's in your software as a service, infrastructure as a service. We have to be able to correlate all that information. That's the key of what we're doing with our OpenXDR platform as our SOC as a service. we got to be careful of just putting something on the endpoint itself, to your point earlier about having just antivirus.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right, David, any final words, sir?
First of all, Chris, we appreciate your time and the opportunity to talk to your partners. For the partners who've stayed on this long, we appreciate your interest. We'd love an opportunity to just talk to you. And maybe we're not a fit, maybe we are. Maybe you help us get better, or maybe we help you get better. At the end of the day, we don't get there by ourselves, and neither will you. But Jeremy's quote, it's you plus us. That's how we operate. So, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention, and let us know how we can help.
Great conversation. I really enjoyed every part of this. And for those of you guys that are watching with us live and on the recordings, cybersecurity is a major threat. You have to be ready for it. I understand where you came from. I see this every single week. Looking at a fully managed security operations center partner is a critical component of your business. And I really have a conversation with them and see if it's a fit for you. If I had an MSP right now, this would be my choice. I will tell you that straight out. And that's Mark. That's for me, you too, Mark Porter. We know each other well, and I love what you guys are doing, and I'm really excited about the future together. So thanks again, Jeremy, David, really good chatting with you guys, and we'll see you guys soon. You guys keep crushing it. We'll talk soon. We'll see you on our next webcast. Bye-bye.